Ask me what you don't know.
What is DEVS?
The script was so engaging, it was so very descriptive, and I guess the most important thing is that working with Alex is working in a true collaboration. He, certainly in terms of design, he gets myself and my colleague Michelle Day, who's sort of a co-designer, set decorator with me, much earlier on than in normal film and TV sense, to sound out some ideas and some aesthetics with him, and from that he might adapt the script or understand more of what he's written down.
This is the only principle you need to understand. Nothing ever happens without a reason. Everything was determined by something prior.
The point was that it's a near future. There are aspects of the story that I think perhaps technologically or even in terms of ideology and thinking are rooted in where we are, but just one step further. And it's very much about the future of computing, and it's based on something that exists now, but is just at that edge where we're moving forward with it. In a similar way, perhaps with particle physics and stuff like that. So there are quantum computers in existence, 3 or 4, maybe 5 in the world, and they do exist and are able to compute, or reputedly it's said they can compute for a few seconds or 20, 30 seconds to the degree that we're talking about. So it's in its real infancy, and it's the way that we're moving. So I guess we, as we always do, we base our ideas on research and as much of the science and the reality that exists, and we just push it a little bit further in a direction that we think might make sense. Now, listen, Alex always wanted, I think, the computer and the world that we were creating to be magical and special.
Life is just something we watch unfold.
Alex said, enjoy yourself a bit more. Let's go out the box a bit more. Let's not worry too much about the visual reality. Let's see what comes about. Now, in truth, we still feel we kept within the integrity of science, and hopefully try to understand that and keep it those limits, but just stretch that a bit more. So our design of the quantum computer, which is this big centerpiece, gold centerpiece and delicate centerpiece in the middle of that building, is actually based on what real quantum computers look like. They need these long glass and gold cooling tubes. Those materials and disks are used within them, and if anybody wants to look up what a quantum computer looks like, once it's taken out of its sleeve, then the inner workings, you'll understand what we saw. And what we saw in a smaller scale was this beautiful sculptural and chandelier-like piece. And that was a gift to us, because it allowed us to then explore, pieces of art, sculptures, components that were similar to it, but were actually pieces of art. And we hopefully tried to merge the two together.
They're fanatics. We need the police.
You want to take them down? It's impossible.
You knew I was going to come here.
It is a little bit cultish, and the scale of it and the magnitude of what's happening is a reminder that there is something odd happening here, but we don't know what. And also, actually, although we don't know it from the beginning, it's rooted in love and loss and grief and in human compassionate things. But it's still, if you read it wrong, the duplicity maybe allows you to understand that this is, scary or dangerous or evil.
The last time I saw him, he was headed toward DEVS, and then he disappears.
Let's start with the floating building. Now, that was always in the script. And I guess the brief for that, and some of it, the basic construct of it was detailed by Alex in the script. Basically, he said he has this building, it is floating in a vacuum, and it's remote and secure. And he did mention things like some of the walls, the outer walls, from when you come from outside, are 15 foot of lead, and then some concrete, and all of this was about making this, what's inside it, it's secret and secure, and all the more secure because it's a piece of modern technology, it's a computer. And to stop information coming out, or to stop information going in, then what are the resources you have to do that? And one of them is to place this object in a vacuum. Once you place it in a vacuum, it needs to float. And it's in a vacuum because it's not touching the outside world. So the outside world cannot physically steal something from it. If there are no connecting wires, if there's no connecting pathway, then it's harder to physically steal something.
Yeah.
Now, the other advantage of a vacuum is that it is also a bar to things like sound and other types of waves that can't travel so easily through it. Then, the materials that we surround it with, like the gold wall and the concrete, were based on the fact that they would interfere with any electromagnetic forces that might try to destroy or pull things back. In truth, quantum computers are very delicate, absolutely very delicate, and the slightest bit of radioactivity, movement, light, sound, any of those physicalities can affect it or destroy it. So we just took that a step further. So how do you totally protect this from itself, but also from other people, either bringing things in? So that's what much of that, the core of the materials and the style was then again driven by Alex said, I want it to look fantastic and fantastical. And it can do. This is a billionaire. This is a man who can also create something that is visually stunning or visually interesting for him, but has a basis in science and mathematics. And that's the great thing about science and mathematics, is that it can be beautiful. There's repetition, there's scale. Again, and there's materials. Anybody open up your phone, open up your computer, open up any piece of technology from any time, from the 60s, whether it's Transformers from the 60s or valves, or now it's our silicon chips. What do you see? You see symmetry, geometry, and you see beautiful materials. Open up a computer, you'll see gold in there, you'll see copper, you'll see platinum, you'll see all of those, shiny metals. And they're not there for beauty, they're there because they happen to serve a purpose and they have an intrinsic physical property, but they are beautiful.
Yeah.
So therefore you're allowed to enjoy that. So we did. The large statue.
Yeah.
Again, that was always in the script. Originally, Alex had it at the entrance. So as you arrive, you are reminded straight away that this is the corporation of Amaya. Then there was lots of discussion. Should it be sculptural? Should it be metal? Should it be cement, concrete? And we went for a balance between the photoreal and I think the artificially sculptural. And I think hopefully we've got that balance. So at times you're allowed to feel and be reminded of the human emotion and the human physicality of it, that it is a child and it is a human. And it's not grandiose apart from its scale. And at other times you understand from its scale and its magnitude, but it's a little bit scary.
It's creepy, at least.
Yeah, it's creepy. Yeah, scary maybe is the wrong word. It's certainly creepy. And I think it nodded and gave us another avenue, and this is part of the process of when we work with Alex. I don't think we particularly imagined that the campus and that statue would be cult-like, but by the time we started to put in the scale of things and the presence everywhere of her image on computers, on walls, on the big glass windows in the copy area, suddenly it felt a bit culty. And we imagined that maybe some of these tech companies are that, and they do portray an image of that in a way.
There's a lot of references maybe to religion without mentioning any religion in particular. You have the halos in the heads of the characters sometimes, while if you have the camera like pointing at them from below.
Something bad happened to him.
You know what happened to him.
Alex might have a different take on this, but from the design point of view and from our team's point of view, to tell you the truth, we never considered religion as a major pointer. For example, those trees and the halos were a chance discovery. in that the design of those halos came at a late point. We needed to light an area that was dark, i.e. the woods, in a transition between our campus, which is focused about one thing, and this secret other building, and both were awe-inspiring. And we looked at various lights there without it being too contrived. It's supposed to be a path they go through, so we looked at floor standing lights, and it just didn't work for the DOP. You know, without it making tall lights that are 8-10 feet high and just look like columns of light, or street lights, or car park lights. It was boring, and it was repetitive. So Michelle, again, we looked to art. She looked at loads of art installations, and again, we wanted a surround and ambient lighting. And why don't we try circles of light? But then, how do we hang them? Well, we could put them around the trees. So we experimented with that, and one looked good. But then when you put 20 or 30, it's just an amazing space, and it's amazing. These floating lights, again, perhaps by luck, it nods towards the floating building as well, you know. And then once they were up and we were looking, you know, in prep and in scouting, and people walked under them, your eyesight looked and you could see, oh, well, there's this halo shape. So then the actors and the camera and the lighting team and Alex on the day, I think, and a little bit early, but nevertheless, discovered this religious, perhaps, listen, there is a theme, we realise there's a theme of God and religion having a presence in that perhaps these people that own these companies are godlike. Perhaps computers are, in a sense, these supernatural beings, and as they move more towards AI and importance in our life, I say they have a godlike feel, but we have themes of self-determination, of determination of free will, of other galaxies, of of other universes. So that theme was there, but specifically, did each space and building, did we look at it in a religious sense? No. But when you research art and buildings and structure and visuals across any culture, any human culture, right from the beginning of time, there is a theme of religion, of supernatural beings.